AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior toward me. I, 26F, have a younger sister, Emma, 24F, and growing up we were really close. We went through a lot together, and I always considered her my best friend. Our parents are divorced, and while my dad was always emotionally distant, my mom tried to make up for it by being overly protective, especially of Emma. I always got along with Emma, but over the last few years, her behavior has changed a lot, particularly after she got engaged to Mark, 28M. When Emma first started dating Mark, I didn't mind him too much. He seemed charming enough on the surface, funny, and ambitious. But the more time I spent around him, the more I noticed subtle things that made me uncomfortable. He would constantly make passive-aggressive remarks about my lifestyle choices, like my decision to pursue a creative career instead of something practical like engineering or finance. He would say things like, "It must be nice to live in your little bubble," or, "I guess some people are just okay with not achieving much." At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was joking or just socially awkward. As their relationship got more serious and wedding planning started, his behavior toward me escalated. He began undermining me in front of our family during gatherings. For example, on my birthday dinner last year, he loudly remarked, "Oh, I didn't realize people like you still did insert hobby I enjoy." That seems like a weird waste of time. My parents laughed nervously, but Emma seemed embarrassed and said nothing. I tried addressing it politely afterward, saying that I felt uncomfortable with those comments. Emma told me he didn't mean anything by it and asked me to just let it slide for her sake. Things got worse as the wedding approached. Mark started giving me unsolicited advice about my life choices, sometimes in front of friends or extended family. He once said, "I just don't understand how someone can live on so little ambition and still be happy." At a small family gathering, he told my cousin that my apartment looked like a college student's dorm, even though I'd spent months decorating it. Everyone awkwardly laughed, and Emma again asked me to ignore it. The final straw came last month. My mom asked me to help with some wedding planning tasks, mostly logistical things like confirming RSVPs and helping with decorations. I agreed, thinking this was a way to maintain peace. While working together, Mark started criticizing my work, saying things like, "You clearly don't know how to handle this. Let me take over. I don't want your incompetence ruining my sister's big day." This wasn't just a one-off comment. He did it repeatedly over the next few hours, and I could see that Emma wasn't defending me. Instead, she kept telling me to not take it personally. After that, I realized I couldn't be around him without feeling belittled, and I decided to step back. I told Emma that I wasn't comfortable attending the wedding if Mark was going to be there, and she was shocked. She started crying, saying that she couldn't believe I was willing to miss her wedding over something so minor. I explained that it wasn't minor to me, and that I felt consistently disrespected and unvalued around him. I also said that her asking me to ignore his behavior made me feel like she prioritized her fiancé's comfort over her sister's. Emma tried reasoning with me, saying things like, "He's going to be your brother-in-law. You need to get along," and "I need my big day to be perfect, and your attitude is making it harder." I told her that I wasn't being unreasonable and that my decision had nothing to do with ruining her day, but about protecting my mental health. She called me selfish and accused me of choosing conflict over family. I've been getting texts from other family members, mostly my dad and cousins, asking me to reconsider. Some say I'm overreacting and that I should just grin and bear it for a few hours. Others, including a few of Emma's friends who've known me for years, have privately told me they understand my position and that Mark has a history of being condescending. I offered to help from a distance, like contributing to planning or helping with other logistics, but not attending the wedding in person. Emma refuses, saying that my absence would cause drama and make her feel abandoned. I feel caught because I genuinely love my sister and want her to be happy, but I also can't subject myself to someone who constantly belittles me and makes me feel small. I keep wondering if I'm overreacting or if I should just suck it up for one day to support my sister. I've tried talking to Emma multiple times, but she won't compromise, and it's starting to affect our relationship. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior. If you enjoyed the video, Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited my husband over a misunderstanding. I, 32F, have always had a close relationship with my younger sister, Emily, 29F. Growing up, we were inseparable, and even though we've both moved to different cities, we always made time to visit each other, especially for major family events. Emily has been dating her now fiancé, Tom, 31M, for about 4 years, and recently she announced their engagement. At first, I was thrilled for her. I immediately started thinking about my outfit, travel plans, and all the ways I could help her plan the wedding. My husband, Daniel, 34M, and I have been together for 8 years. He's usually reserved in big social settings, but he's incredibly kind and supportive. Our relationship with Emily and Tom has always been polite and friendly, though Daniel has always kept to himself a little at family events. Things started going downhill about a month ago. Emily called me, sounding upset, and told me that she and Tom had decided to make some final decisions regarding the wedding guest list. She said that they had noticed Daniel sometimes makes awkward comments during family events and that he might unintentionally make their wedding uncomfortable for everyone. Emily told me that after careful consideration, they had decided Daniel couldn't be invited. I was shocked. I asked for examples of what Daniel had done, and Emily mentioned a couple of offhand jokes at last year's Thanksgiving dinner, where Daniel had teased Tom about his choice of socks and made a comment about Emily's overly ambitious turkey recipe. I tried to explain that these were harmless jokes and that Daniel had never intended to offend anyone, but Emily was adamant. She said she wanted her wedding to be perfect and that it would be easier if Daniel didn't attend. I felt blindsided and hurt. I told Emily I understood that she wanted her wedding to be perfect, but Daniel is my husband, and I couldn't imagine going without him. I asked if there was a compromise, like him sitting quietly or limiting the jokes, but Emily said no, and that it would be too awkward for everyone if he attended. I spent a few days trying to process everything. I considered going without Daniel because I really wanted to support my sister, but the thought of attending her wedding without him felt impossible. It felt like she was asking me to choose between her and my husband, which I couldn't do. When I told Daniel about the situation, he was understandably upset. He said he had never done anything remotely offensive intentionally and that it hurt that Emily would make such a decision without even talking to him directly. We talked it over for several nights and ultimately decided that I would talk to Emily one last time to see if there was any way to resolve this. I called Emily and tried to reason with her. I explained that Daniel is part of my life, and if she wanted me there, he would be there too. I emphasized that his comments are usually taken in a lighthearted way, and I offered to help mediate or ensure he behaved appropriately. Emily didn't budge. She said that she couldn't risk one uncomfortable moment ruining her wedding and that she had made her decision. She also added that Tom fully supported the choice. At this point, I made the difficult decision to not attend the wedding at all. I sent her a message explaining my choice, expressing that I was heartbroken and wishing her the best. I also told her that I hoped she would understand why I couldn't go without my husband. Emily replied coldly, saying she was sad I couldn't support her day and that I was letting my own feelings get in the way. I thought that would be the end of it, but things escalated quickly. Our parents, who were trying to stay neutral, started pressuring me to reconsider. They said I was being dramatic and that it was just a wedding. I tried to explain that it wasn't about drama. It was about respect and partnership in my marriage. But both my parents and Emily have been posting passive-aggressive comments on social media, making subtle jabs at me and Daniel. Friends of the family have also been asking why I'm not attending, putting me in an awkward position. I've gotten mixed responses from my own friends. Some think I'm in the right for standing by my husband, while others think I should have gone anyway, just to support my sister. I've tried to explain that attending without Daniel would make me miserable and would probably create more tension than it avoids. I know my sister wanted a perfect day, but I can't help feeling like she valued appearances more than family relationships. I'm still upset, and I don't know if there's any way to repair our relationship after this. Emily hasn't really reached out to talk since my message, and I'm worried that this will permanently change our relationship. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she disinvited my husband? The story ends here. This version is 200+ characters, fits the popular Reddit AITA style, has a family/social conflict, and leaves the moral ambiguity for discussion. If you want, I can also write a second, even longer one closer to 7,000 characters with multiple twists and escalating drama to make it feel like one of the most viral AITA posts. Do you want me to do that? AITA for refusing to give my sister my wedding dress, even though she begged me for it, and now our family is completely divided? So, I, 26F, am getting married in about 6 months, and I've been planning my wedding for over a year. I come from a fairly traditional family, and for context, my parents divorced when I was 12, and my younger sister, Emily, 23F, has always been a bit dramatic. I love her, but she tends to expect things without thinking about how they affect others. She also has a history of borrowing things from me and not returning them in the same condition. So I've always been careful about lending her anything expensive or sentimental. Anyway, back to the wedding. I've been really particular about my dress. I found it last summer at a boutique, fell in love immediately, and spent months getting it tailored and adjusted. It's custom made for me, and honestly, it's probably the nicest thing I own. I know it sounds superficial, but it has sentimental value to me, and it's a big part of the excitement of my wedding. A few weeks ago, Emily found out what my dress looks like and texted me saying she loved it and had always dreamed of wearing a dress like that for her own wedding someday. I responded politely, saying, "Thanks. I'm glad you like it." She then followed up with, "Do you think I could borrow it for my wedding when the time comes? You won't need it again after all, right?" At first, I thought she was joking. I laughed and said, "No, Em, this is my dress for my wedding. It's custom and very special to me. You'll find something amazing for your wedding, I'm sure." She immediately got defensive. She said, "You're being ridiculous. It's just a dress. You won't wear it again. You're literally just going to have it hanging in your closet." I tried to explain why it mattered to me. I said, "It's not just about wearing it once. It's a special memory, and I put a lot into it. It's personal, and I'd feel weird having someone else wear it. Plus, it might not even fit you perfectly." She said, "You're being selfish. Sisters are supposed to share things. Mom would let me borrow her dress if she could." At this point, I was getting frustrated, but I still tried to be calm. I said, "Emily, I get that you like it, but it's not just about sharing. I wouldn't borrow something like this from anyone else. It's not a judgment on you. It's my choice." She snapped back with, "You always think everything has to be about you. You're so self-centered. I can't believe you're treating me like this." I thought we were close. Things escalated when she started texting our mom and dad about it. Mom called me and said, "Honey, maybe you should just let her borrow the dress. You don't need it forever, and it would make her happy." Dad said something similar. I explained my side to both of them, but they seemed to think I was overreacting and being stubborn. Emily then posted on social media about it, saying something like, "When your sister refuses to share her wedding dress because she's selfish and won't think of anyone but herself." That post went viral among our mutual friends and family, and suddenly I was getting messages from people I barely know asking why I was being so unfair. My phone has been blowing up for days. I try to stand my ground, but my family keeps pressuring me. They say I should compromise or share with my sister to keep the peace. I don't think I'm wrong, but I can see why it might look bad from an outsider's perspective. Emily has since started ignoring me and posting passive-aggressive stories online about how some people can't be happy for their loved ones. I've considered just giving in to avoid more drama, but I feel like that would make me resentful and set a precedent that my boundaries don't matter. I've been thinking about offering to help her find a similar dress or even pay for a custom one for her when she gets married, but she won't hear it. She insists nothing could compare to my dress. Now, a few relatives have taken sides. My mom is upset at me, saying I could have handled this more gracefully, and some of our friends are saying I should just let her borrow it to avoid a family feud. On the other hand, A few friends I trust say I am completely within my rights to say no. Honestly, I feel torn. I want my wedding to be about me and my fiancé, not about a fight over a dress. I also want to maintain a relationship with my sister, but I don't want to give up something that is truly important to me. Every time I try to talk to her about it, she accuses me of being cold or selfish, and it just escalates further. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to give my sister my wedding dress, even though it's causing major drama with my family and making her angry. I feel like I'm justified, but the social backlash has me second-guessing myself. I'd love some perspective. Am I really being selfish, or is this just about me setting boundaries that people don't respect? AITA for refusing to let my younger brother's girlfriend move in with us after he had a falling out with our parents. So a little background first. I, 27F, have been living in our family home with my younger brother, Jake, 22M, for the past 3 years. Our parents moved out of state for work, and I stayed behind to keep the house in order and manage the bills. Jake has always been a bit hot-headed and impulsive, but overall, he's a good kid. Recently, he started dating a girl named Clara, 24F, and at first, things seemed fine. She's outgoing, funny, and generally well-liked, though she does have a tendency to overstep boundaries. The issue started about 2 months ago. Jake had an argument with our parents over something trivial. He thought they were being unfair about the money they were asking him to contribute for school-related stuff. It escalated quickly, and by the end of it, Jake declared that he wasn't speaking to them anymore. I tried to mediate, but they both insisted that it was his choice and that I shouldn't get involved. Fair enough, but left Jake upset and, honestly, a little lost. A week after this fallout, Clara suggested that she move in with us because Jake needs support and it'll be nice for all of us to live together. I immediately felt uneasy. The main reason is that Clara has never lived with anyone except her parents, and for what I've seen, she isn't very independent. She relies on Jake for a lot of things, and sometimes makes very impulsive decisions without thinking about the consequences. I also knew that if she moved in, the dynamic in the house would completely change, and the responsibility of managing the bills and household chores would mostly fall on me. When I told Jake that I didn't think it was a good idea, he got defensive. He argued that Clara was practically family now, that I was being unreasonable, and that if I loved him, I'd support them. I tried explaining my concerns calmly. She's never lived on her own, she might not be financially stable, and the house isn't big enough for another person without it feeling cramped. He countered by saying that we had a big house, and it wouldn't be a problem. Things got heated over the next few days. Jake started dropping subtle guilt trips, saying things like, "You don't trust me to handle my own life?" Or, "You're always so controlling. Why can't you just let me make a choice?" Clara didn't help matters either. She began texting me directly, saying that I was being selfish and that I should just accept her as part of the household. She even mentioned that she could help out with the bills, though she hadn't actually offered any concrete plan for doing so, and I wasn't sure I could trust that promise. I made a final decision. I told Jake and Clara that I wouldn't allow her to move in. I explained that I wanted to maintain a peaceful household and that adding another person, especially someone who hasn't lived independently, would create too much stress and risk. I offered alternative solutions. Clara could stay for a week at a time if needed, or they could look into renting a small place nearby together. Jake lost it. He called me selfish, controlling, and accused me of being the reason their relationship might fail. Clara chimed in, claiming that I was driving a wedge between them and that I didn't care about Jake's happiness. They've both since been avoiding the house, and Jake has been living at Clara's place for the past week. Our parents got involved as well, siding with Jake and saying that I was overreacting and not trusting his judgment. Now, I'm stuck in this weird middle ground. I feel like I made the right choice because I genuinely believe that having Clara move in would have caused a lot of stress, both financially and emotionally. I'm also the one who's been managing the house and bills, so I think my concerns are valid. But I also feel guilty because Jake seems genuinely hurt, and Clara has been passive-aggressive in messages to me. Friends who know the situation are split. Some think I'm right to protect the house and my mental health, while others think I should have been more accommodating for Jake and Clara, given that Jake is family and recently went through a tough period with our parents. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my brother's girlfriend move in, even though it's caused a rift between us. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she treated my child. So this is going to be a long one, and I really need some perspective because I feel like I'm the bad guy in my family's eyes, but part of me feels justified. I, 34F, have a 7-year-old son, Max, who is the light of my life. My sister, Lisa, 36F, is getting married in a few months, and she and I have always had a tense relationship. We weren't exactly enemies growing up, but we were definitely competitive, and she's always had a way of making me feel like I'm doing everything wrong. Even small stuff like the way I cook or decorate my house. I've tried to let it go over the years, but her behavior towards Max recently crossed a line, and now the wedding is making me feel trapped. Here's the background. Max has mild sensory issues. Nothing severe, but enough that certain loud environments, sudden movements, or unfamiliar people can overwhelm him. He's also shy around people he doesn't know well, which sometimes makes him appear standoffish or quiet. We've been working on this in therapy, and I do my best to accommodate him in public and social situations so he's comfortable. I never expected this to be an issue, but apparently it became one with my sister. Last year, Lisa invited Max to her engagement party. Max was excited, but he started feeling overwhelmed by the crowd and loud music halfway through. He asked me if we could sit somewhere quieter for a while. I agreed and took him to a corner, letting him calm down and come back if he wanted. Lisa found out I had moved him and later texted me, saying I was ruining the vibe and that I was parenting him like he's broken. I tried to explain, politely, that Max just needed a break and that he actually had a much better time once he could calm down, but Lisa didn't respond beyond saying she didn't think it was that serious. At the time, I brushed it off, but I made a mental note that I needed to be careful at her wedding. Fast forward to now. Lisa's wedding is in a fancy hotel ballroom with over 200 guests. She's very particular about every detail, and she's made it clear that she wants the perfect Instagram wedding. I asked her several times if there was a quiet space Max could go to if he got overwhelmed, and she brushed it off, saying he'd just have to deal and that he'll be fine if he behaves. I tried to explain that Max doesn't misbehave, he just needs sensory breaks, and this isn't about discipline, it's about him being comfortable. She literally said, "I don't want my wedding ruined because your kid can't handle a party." At that moment, I realized that attending her wedding could very likely result in Max being embarrassed or forced into a situation that could trigger a meltdown. I also have to mention that Lisa has always had issues with my parenting style. I'm a little more laid back and let Max express himself, whereas she is much stricter and judgmental about children's behavior. Every time she's been around Max, she makes passive-aggressive comments like, "You should really control him better," or "Kids need discipline, not coddling." I've tried to ignore it, but it's exhausting, and it makes me worry about Max being in her environment for several hours. A week ago, I told Lisa I wouldn't be attending her wedding because I refused to put Max in a situation where he's likely to be humiliated or forced into anxiety. I offered to celebrate with her in other ways, like having a smaller family dinner or taking her out for a private brunch, but she blew up. She called me selfish, said I was punishing her for no reason, and accused me of holding Max hostage from the family. She even told my parents that I was letting my kid dictate my life and that I had no respect for family. My parents called me and said I was being dramatic and that I should just suck it up for one day. I feel terrible because I know this is a huge event in her life and that she probably wanted me there, but I also feel like Max's well-being comes first. I can't make him endure something that could trigger a serious meltdown, just so I don't upset Lisa. I even suggested I could go alone, but Lisa said that was worse because it's not the same without Max. It feels like no matter what I do, it's wrong in her eyes. Now the rest of the family is pressuring me to attend. They've said things like it's just one day, you're being dramatic, and you're ruining her big moment. A few of Lisa's friends have also privately messaged me saying I'm overreacting and that kids cry at weddings all the time, and that I'm being unreasonable. Max knows about the situation, and he's actually relieved he doesn't have to go. He said he's glad we can celebrate with Lisa in a way that's calm and fun instead of chaotic. Honestly, I don't think I'm being unreasonable. Max's mental health and comfort matter, and I've seen firsthand how he reacts in big, overstimulating situations. My sister is making this about her perfect wedding instead of my child's needs, and I feel like she's punishing me for prioritizing him. But I also understand that from her perspective, she sees a family member refusing to attend her wedding as a huge betrayal. I'm stuck between my son's well-being and not wanting to be labeled the villain in my family. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she treats my child and her refusal to accommodate him. AITA for refusing to host my cousin's wedding at my house, even though I offered help in other ways. So this is going to be a long one, so bear with me. I-28F recently had a huge falling out with my cousin, Laura, 30F, and her fiancé, Mark, 32M, over what I consider a completely unreasonable request. I want to know if I'm actually in the wrong here. Laura and I have always been close growing up. Our parents are siblings, and we basically grew up together, so when she got engaged last year, I was genuinely happy for her. We've always been the kind of family where if someone needs help, you step up. So when she first started talking about wedding plans, I naturally offered to help however I could. I work from home, have a bit of extra disposable income, and I really love planning events, so I figured this could be my chance to actually help her without stressing about work or other commitments. Initially, everything was fine. I helped her make a guest list, brainstorm venues, gave her recommendations for florists and catering, and even helped her pick out some decorations. I was excited, but then she dropped the bomb. She wanted to have the wedding at my house. Not just the backyard or the living room, the entire wedding. She was envisioning around 100 guests, a rented marquee in the backyard, catering trucks, and a DJ inside my house. She claimed it would be cozy, intimate, and meaningful because our family home has so much sentimental value. At first, I laughed, thinking she was joking. But nope, she was dead serious. I tried to explain that my house isn't a venue. It's a 3-bedroom home in a suburban neighborhood. The backyard isn't huge. We have a tiny kitchen, and there's no space for a large catering setup or a dance floor. I also explained that hosting that many people would be a huge liability for me. There's insurance, noise complaints from neighbors, the possibility of damage to my property, and honestly, the stress just thinking about it gives me panic attacks. Laura got upset. She said I was refusing to be part of her big day, and that my house has been in our family for decades, so it should naturally be the location. I tried to compromise. I offered to help pay for a venue, or to host the rehearsal dinner instead, or even just small pre-wedding gatherings at my house. She dismissed all of it and said, "If you really cared about me, you'd let me have the wedding here. You're being selfish." Things escalated from there. She started telling other family members about my refusal, painting me as the villain. My parents, who I normally get along with, try to pressure me into making this work because apparently it would look bad for the family if I didn't. They suggested I just temporarily move my furniture, rent portable toilets, hire security, and somehow make it work. I explained multiple times that it's not about money. It's about practicality and my mental health. They insisted that my feelings were less important than family tradition. I finally told her that I couldn't host the wedding at my house, and that if she couldn't accept that, she could find another venue. This led to her unfollowing me on social media, not answering texts, and outright telling people I was toxic for not letting her use my home. Mark, her fiancé, has been equally unsupportive. He said things like, "If it were me, I'd just bend and let it happen. It's not that big of a deal," which honestly made me feel like they were ganging up on me. A few relatives have weighed in. Some agree with me, saying hosting 100-plus guests at a private home is insane and that I have every right to say no. Others are insisting that I owe her this family favor because it's my family and it's a special occasion. The weird part is that she has a ton of money and could easily rent a venue herself, which makes me feel even more frustrated that she's making this all about my home instead of her resources. My friends are mostly supportive, saying it's reasonable to say no, but even they admit that family drama can get messy. I keep replaying the conversations in my head, wondering if I really am being unreasonable, selfish, or unhelpful. I genuinely wanted to be involved in her wedding and was willing to help in multiple other ways, but she refuses to accept anything short of the wedding being in my home. I just feel like she's crossing a line by assuming that because we're family, my house is automatically available for her big event. I've never heard of anyone being pressured this hard to host someone else's wedding, especially with my particular constraints. And honestly, after the way she's treated me over this, I don't even know if I want to attend the wedding anymore if it goes forward at a venue without my involvement. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to host my cousin's wedding at my house, even though I offered help in other ways. I feel like I'm being reasonable, but now half my family thinks I'm a villain, and I don't know how to fix this without giving in completely, which I really don't want to do. Character count, 6,547 if you want. I can also draft an even longer, drama-packed version with more family interactions and escalating arguments, pushing closer to 7,000 characters for maximum Reddit-style engagement. Do you want to do that? AITA for refusing to let my sister name her baby after me, even though everyone says I'm overreacting. So, I, 27F, have a younger sister, Lily, 24F, and we've always been close, but also competitive in a very subtle, sibling way. Our parents divorced when we were kids, and since then, I've been the responsible older sibling, while Lily has often been the free-spirited one. That said, I've always been there for her, whether it's helping her move apartments, lending money when she was in a tight spot, or just being someone she could vent to about her love life. A few months ago, Lily announced she was pregnant. I was thrilled at first, but as the pregnancy progressed, things started to get weird. Lily and her husband, Mark, 29M, started dropping hints about baby names, and one name kept coming up, my name. For context, my name is Claire. It's not a super common name where we live, but it's definitely recognizable. Lily started saying things like, "Wouldn't it be cute if the baby had your name?" Or, "I think Claire is such a strong, beautiful name, like you." At first, I laughed it off and said, "Sure, it's flattering, but I think it's a little weird to name your baby after me." Lily insisted it would just be a coincidence, or that the baby wouldn't be named after me. Just share the name. I tried to let it go, thinking maybe I was overthinking it. As the due date approached, the hints turned into outright declarations. Lily told our parents and extended family that she had decided to name the baby Claire. My parents immediately thought it was fine and said I was being too sensitive. Friends and cousins messaged me privately saying, "Wow, that's such a compliment." But honestly, it didn't feel like a compliment to me. It felt invasive and uncomfortable. I tried talking to Lily again. I said, "Look, I know you like my name, but naming your kid Claire feels really personal. It's my name, my identity, and I'd rather you pick something else." She got defensive and said, "I'm not naming her after you, Claire. I just love the name. Why are you making this a thing?" I explained that while she may not intend to name the baby after me, that's exactly how it feels, especially since she's explicitly said it reminds her of me. This led to a huge argument. Lily accused me of being selfish and controlling. Mark stayed out of it mostly, but occasionally chimed in, saying, "It's just a name, Claire. People name kids after celebrities, grandparents, famous authors. This isn't a big deal." I tried to explain that it's not just about the name, it's the emotional context and the way it feels like she's copying or co-opting my identity in a way that I'm not comfortable with. I tried to compromise by suggesting they use Claire as a middle name instead of a first name. Lily seemed like she might consider it, but then she told our mom, who apparently told the whole family, and suddenly everyone was on Lily's side. I was accused of being dramatic and overreacting. My mom even said, "You're acting like you own your name. It's not yours to control. You can't dictate what other people name their kids." Fast forward to the birth. Lily announced the baby's full name, Claire Elizabeth. I froze. Part of me felt proud in a weird way, like my name was immortalized, but mostly I felt violated. I wasn't invited to the first couple of days when they named the baby, and when I finally saw the baby, everyone was fawning over little Claire. I didn't say anything at first, but inside I felt like a stranger in my own life. I tried to set boundaries. I told Lily that I didn't want to be referred to as Aunt Claire when I'm with the baby, that I wanted my name to be kept separate in conversation. She said, "You're being ridiculous. The baby has the name, not you. Stop projecting. I felt trapped because I couldn't escape hearing my name all the time when I visited, and every photo or social media post with a baby had the name prominently displayed. Things escalated when my friends noticed my discomfort. I was venting on a private group chat, and someone suggested I just get over it because it's not like she stole my identity. That made me question myself. Maybe I was being sensitive. But then I realized the feeling isn't about the name alone. It's about how my sister repeatedly dismissed my feelings, involved the whole family to pressure me, and framed my discomfort as an overreaction. A few weeks ago, I finally had a blowout argument with Lily. I told her straight up, "You've ignored me from the start, and it's hurtful. You didn't just pick a name, you picked mine, and now it feels like you erased my ability to have that name in my own life." She screamed at me that I was possessive and controlling, that I didn't understand what it means to be a family, and that I should be grateful for the honor. I walked out, and now the family dynamic is super tense. My parents and most of my extended family think I'm the A8 for making this a big deal. They say Lily didn't mean to hurt me, and that I should just accept it. My friends are divided. Some say I have a right to feel how I feel, and others say I need to let it go because it's just a name. I've considered changing my social media handles, or even introducing myself differently around the baby to reclaim some distance, but I feel like it's a band-aid solution for a bigger issue. My sister dismissing my feelings repeatedly. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to just accept my sister naming her baby Claire? Am I overreacting, or is it reasonable to feel uncomfortable with someone so close using my name for their child? The tension in the family has only grown since the birth, and I don't know if things can ever go back to normal. Every time I see photos or hear the baby being called Claire, it feels like a reminder that my boundaries weren't respected, and I'm struggling to reconcile my love for my sister with the resentment I feel. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned my role and demanded I be the bigger person. I, 27F, have one sister, Emma, 30F. Growing up, we were close in the way siblings are when they survive the same chaos. Our parents divorced when we were teenagers, money was tight, and we leaned on each other a lot. When Emma went to college, I stayed home and worked 2 jobs to help our mom keep the house. Emma always said she'd pay me back someday. Not financially, just emotionally by always having my back. Fast forward to now. Emma is getting married to Mark, 32M. They've been together 4 years, engaged for 1. From the moment the engagement happened, the wedding became the center of everyone's universe. I was genuinely happy for her. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I cried and said yes immediately. We talked about dresses, colors, and how she wanted the day to feel intimate and drama-free. The first cracks showed when Emma's future sister-in-law, Lily, 28F, got involved. Lily is loud, opinionated, and very into being honest no matter what. She and Emma bonded quickly. Suddenly, plans we had discussed for months changed without me being told. I'd find out after the fact that Lily had suggested something better. I tried not to be sensitive. I figured weddings are stressful, and Emma deserves support, not pushback. But then Emma told me she wanted Lily to be co-maid of honor. She framed it as wanting to include everyone, and said titles didn't matter. I was hurt, but agreed, again telling myself to be flexible. After that, my responsibilities quietly disappeared. Lily took over planning the bachelorette party, chose a theme I knew Emma hated, and scheduled it for a weekend she knew I couldn't attend because of work. When I mentioned this to Emma, she said I was being negative and that Lily was just more available. Things came to a head over the seating chart. Emma asked me to help finalize it. I noticed our mom was seated far from the family table while Mark's parents and siblings were front and center. For context, our mom has been struggling with health issues and was really looking forward to feeling included. I gently asked Emma about it. She snapped. She said Mark's family was paying for more and deserved priority. I reminded her that our mom had helped financially where she could and had emotionally supported her through everything. Emma told me I was making the wedding about myself and accused me of trying to guilt her. A few days later, Emma called and said she'd been thinking. She said the wedding had become too stressful and that she wanted me to step down as maid of honor and just attend as a guest. Lily would take over fully. Emma said this would preserve our relationship and asked me to be understanding. I was stunned. I asked what I had actually done wrong. She said I'd been critical, not enthusiastic enough, and that Lily matched her energy better. Then she added that as her sister, I should be able to handle disappointment without making it a big deal. I told her I needed time to think. Over the next week, I realized how sidelined and disposable I felt. Every time I tried to advocate for myself or our mom, I was labeled difficult. I called Emma back and told her I didn't feel comfortable attending the wedding at all. I said it hurt too much to sit there smiling while being pushed aside in favor of someone she'd known for a fraction of the time. Emma cried and said I was abandoning her on the most important day of her life. Mark texted me saying I was being immature and that weddings aren't about siblings. Lily sent me a long message about how I needed to work on my jealousy and stop trying to control Emma. Our mom is devastated and says I should go to keep the peace. Some friends agree, saying I'll regret missing it. Others think Emma crossed the line and that I'm allowed to protect myself. I never wanted to make this a dramatic standoff. I just didn't expect to be replaced so easily and then told to swallow it for the sake of appearances. So AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she removed me from the role she begged me to take and expected me to pretend everything was fine? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to give my sister half of the house I renovated after our parents moved out. I, 29F, grew up in a very small town with my older sister, Lena, 33F. Our parents were loving but practical people. They bought a modest house in the 90s, raised us there, and always said the house would stay in the family. What they also said many times was that whoever lived in it would be responsible for maintaining it. This matters later. After high school, Lena moved to a big city, went to college, and built a career. I stayed local, worked various jobs, and eventually got a stable position at a nearby manufacturing office. When our parents decided to downsize 6 years ago, they asked me if I wanted to live in the house and cover the utilities and upkeep. There was no formal contract, just a family conversation. Lena was present on speakerphone and said she didn't care because she would never move back anyway. When I moved in, the house was honestly falling apart. The roof leaked, the plumbing was ancient, the floors were warped, and the kitchen hadn't been updated since before I was born. Over the next 5 years, I poured almost all my savings into fixing it. I replaced the roof, rewired the electrical system, renovated the kitchen, refinished the floors, and fixed the backyard drainage. I did a lot of the labor myself after work and on weekends. I kept receipts, not because I planned to use them, but because that's how my brain works. My parents helped in small ways like watching my dog while I worked late, but financially it was all me. Lena visited maybe once a year, complimented the changes, and joked that I had turned the place into a Pinterest house. Last year, our parents formally transferred the house into both my and Lena's names, split evenly as part of estate planning. I was surprised, but didn't argue. They said it was only fair. I assumed nothing would change, since I was still living there and paying everything. Then Lena lost her job earlier this year and decided to move back temporarily. She asked if she could stay with me for a few months. I said yes. Almost immediately, she started talking about how valuable the house was now and how lucky we were. She also began suggesting we should sell it and split the money so she could start fresh. I said I wasn't interested in selling. This is my home. I've invested years of work and money into it. She replied that legally it's just as much hers as mine. Things escalated when she asked me to buy her out at full market value for her half. The number she gave was based on the renovated value, not the condition the house was in when I moved in. I told her I couldn't afford that and that it felt unfair to expect me to pay her for improvements I made alone, especially when she had explicitly said she didn't care about the house for years. She accused me of trying to cheat her and said I was weaponizing proximity because I happened to stay local. Our parents are now involved and think I should compromise to keep the peace. They suggested I either take out a loan to buy her out or agree to sell within the next year. They keep saying family is more important than money. I feel like I'm being punished for being the responsible one who stayed, maintained the house, and invested in it, while Lena gets rewarded for leaving and then coming back when it's convenient. Lena has started telling extended family that I'm refusing to share our inheritance. Some relatives have reached out saying I should just sell and move on, that houses are replaceable, but relationships aren't. Others privately told me they think Lena is being greedy but don't want to get involved. I've tried to propose alternatives, like adjusting the split based on documented renovation costs, or letting me stay until I can realistically afford a buyout later. But Lena says anything less than half the current value is unacceptable. She claims she needs the money more than I need the house. I'm exhausted and feel like the bad guy no matter what I do. I never expected this to turn into a legal and emotional mess, and I genuinely don't want to lose my relationship with my sister, but I also don't want to give up the home I rebuilt from the ground up. So AITA for refusing to give my sister half of the house's current value or agreeing to sell it just because we technically co-own it. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned my role without telling me. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings, 27F, with a sister Lena, 25F, and a brother Mark, 22M. Growing up, I was the built-in helper. I babysat, helped with homework, drove everyone around once I got my license, and generally played the responsible one while my parents worked long hours. It wasn't forced exactly, but it was expected, and I leaned into it because I genuinely care about my family. When Lena got engaged last year, she asked me to be her maid of honor. I was surprised, but happy. We aren't super close emotionally, but we're friendly, and I figured this was her way of saying she trusted me. She told me she wanted a small, intimate wedding and said she needed someone organized and calm to keep things together. I agreed and immediately started helping. I researched venues, helped compare vendors, managed a shared spreadsheet, and even covered some deposits up front when her budget was tight, with the understanding she'd pay me back later. Over the next several months, I noticed things shifting. She started taking credit for ideas I suggested, brushed off my concerns, and occasionally snapped at me in group chats. I chalked it up to wedding stress. Our mom kept telling me to be patient and reminded me that this is her special time. So I swallowed my feelings and kept going. About 3 months before the wedding, Lena started spending more time with her future sister-in-law, Paige. Paige is loud, impulsive, and very opinionated. She also lives closer to Lena and has a bigger social media presence. Suddenly, decisions are being made without me. Vendors changed, schedules shifted, and I'd find out after the fact. When I asked about it, Lena said she was just trying to go with the flow. Then came the dress situation. I'd already bought the maid of honor dress Lena picked out. It wasn't cheap, but I paid for it because that's what you do. 2 weeks later, she messaged me saying she had changed her mind and wanted everyone in a different color. I asked what that meant for the dress I already bought. She replied, "Oh, you won't need that one anymore." No apology, no offer to help cover the cost. I finally tried to have a calm conversation with her. I told her I felt pushed aside and unappreciated. She sighed and said I was being too sensitive and that Paige just understood her vision better. That hurt, but I still tried to move on. The real breaking point happened at the bridal shower. I arrived early to help set up, only to be told by our aunt that Paige was now the maid of honor. I honestly thought it was a joke. When I confronted Lena privately, she said she meant to tell me, but didn't know how. Her solution was that I would now be a regular bridesmaid and still help out behind the scenes since I'm good at that. I was shocked. Not only had she changed my role without telling me, but she had also told other people before telling me. I asked why. She said Paige was more fun, more assertive, and better at hyping her up. She also said I was too serious, and that having me as maid of honor felt like having a manager, not a sister. I left the shower early. Later that night, Lena texted me saying she hoped I wasn't mad and that she still needed me to coordinate vendors on the wedding day because Paige gets overwhelmed easily. That's when something in me snapped. I replied that I wasn't comfortable continuing in a role that had been changed without my knowledge, especially when I was still expected to do the hard work without the title or respect. I said I needed space and wouldn't be attending the wedding unless we could have an honest conversation and reset expectations. All hell broke loose. My parents called me dramatic and accused me of punishing Lena over a title. Lena cried and said I was ruining her wedding and making it about me. Mark told me I should just go, smile, and let it go because family is family. But here's the thing. It doesn't feel like it was just about the title. It felt like months of effort, money, and emotional labor were dismissed. It felt like I was useful only when I was convenient. I would have accepted stepping down if she had talked to me first or even thanked me for what I'd done. Instead, I found out through a third party and was still expected to work. As of now, I've returned the dress I could return, canceled the vendor coordination I was handling, and stepped back completely. The wedding is in a month, and I haven't changed my mind. My family is split, with most saying I should suck it up for one day, and a few friends saying I'm finally setting a boundary I should have set years ago. So AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned my role without telling me and still expected me to do the work. AITA for refusing to give my sister the house I inherited even though the whole family says I owe her. I, 28F, lost my grandmother 2 years ago. She practically raised me. My parents worked constantly when I was a kid, and my grandma was the one who picked me up from school, helped with homework, and let me sleep in her bed during thunderstorms. I spent most weekends and summers at her house, even into adulthood. When I was in college, I lived with her to save money and help take care of her as her health declined. My older sister, Lena, 32F, had a very different relationship with our grandmother. She loved her, sure, but she moved out at 18, rarely visited, and openly complained about how old-fashioned and controlling Grandma was. There was no big falling out, just distance. Grandma noticed it, and it hurt her more than Lena ever realized. When Grandma passed, it turned out she left her house to me. It's not a mansion, just a modest 3-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood. But it's fully paid off and means everything to me emotionally. Grandma left Lena some money, about $20K, and left smaller amounts to other relatives. The will was clear and legally solid. At the time, Lena said she was surprised but accepted it. She even told me, "It makes sense, you were basically her shadow." I thought that was the end of it. Fast forward to now. Lena is married with 2 kids and recently found out her landlord is selling their rental. Housing prices are awful, and she's panicking. She came to me and asked if she and her family could move into Grandma's house temporarily. I told her I'd think about it, but I was hesitant. I live there now. I've put my savings into repairs, and I work from home. It's my home. A week later, she came back with a different approach. She said that since Grandma would have wanted the house to stay with the family, I should give it to her because she has kids and I don't really need all that space. She suggested I could keep living there in the basement or take a small buyout once things stabilize. I told her no, calmly at first. I explained that Grandma chose this intentionally, that I'm emotionally attached to the house, and that giving it up would completely uproot my life. I offered to help her look for rentals, help with a down payment, or even loan her money if I could manage it. She exploded. She accused me of being selfish, hoarding wealth, and stealing her kids' future. She said Grandma manipulated me and that I took advantage of being the favorite. She left in tears. Since then, my phone has been blowing up. My parents say I should be more understanding because Lena has children and I don't. My aunt told me it's unnatural for the younger sibling to have the family home. A cousin said that if I don't give Lena the house, I'll permanently damage the family. Even friends are split, with some saying legal doesn't equal moral. What really hurt was my mom saying, if your grandmother were alive, she'd want you to do the right thing now. That feels unfair, considering Grandma already made her choice. I've started to second-guess myself. I could technically sell the house, split the money, and start over somewhere else, but that feels like erasing the last piece of stability I've ever had. At the same time, I hate being painted as the villain while Lena is struggling. I didn't ask for this situation. I didn't manipulate anyone. I just stayed, showed up, and loved my grandmother. Now I feel like I'm being punished for it. So AITA for refusing to give my sister the house I inherited even though it would make her life easier and keep the peace in my family. AITA for refusing to let my sister use my house for her wedding after she ignored every boundary I set. I, 29F, bought my house 2 years ago after saving for almost a decade. It's not huge, but it's mine and I'm proud of it. I grew up in a family where everything was shared whether you wanted it to be or not. So having a space that I control has been a big deal for me. I renovated it slowly, room by room, mostly by myself on weekends. My family knows how important this place is to me. My sister, Lena, 32F, is getting married next spring. She and her fiancé have been together for a long time, and while I'm genuinely happy for them, the wedding planning has turned her into someone I barely recognize. Everything is a crisis, everything is urgent, and everyone is expected to drop what they're doing to help. About 6 months ago, Lena asked if she could host a small engagement party at my house. She said it would be low-key, just close family, no more than 20 people. I agreed, with a few clear rules. No moving furniture without asking, no decorations that could damage the walls or floors, and the party would end by 9 p.m. because I had work the next day. She agreed to all of it. The party was a disaster. She invited over 40 people, including friends I had never met. My dining table was dragged into the backyard without my permission. Someone spilled red wine on my new rug, and they were still blasting music at 11 p.m. When I tried to say something, Lena brushed me off and told me to stop being uptight because it was a celebration. Afterward, she didn't apologize. She said I should have expected chaos and that houses are meant to be used. I was upset, but I didn't want to cause family drama, so I paid for the rug cleaning myself and let it go. I thought that would be the end of it. Last month, Lena asked if she could have her wedding reception at my house. Not the ceremony, just the reception. She explained that venues were expensive and that my backyard would be perfect. She said she was thinking around 80 guests, a tent, catering, a DJ, and dancing until midnight. I immediately said no. I reminded her of what happened at the engagement party and told her I wasn't comfortable hosting something that big. She got quiet, then angry. She said I was punishing her for one mistake, and that family is supposed to help each other. I told her it wasn't one mistake. It was a complete disregard for my boundaries and property. She said she would be more careful this time, and even offered to pay for any damages, but I still said no. I don't want to spend my sister's wedding worrying about my floors, my neighbors, or whether something is going to get broken. After that conversation, my phone blew up. My mom said I was being selfish and that I was putting a house before family. My dad said he understood my concerns, but that this was a once-in-a-lifetime event and I should be flexible. Several relatives messaged me saying I was ruining Lena's wedding and embarrassing her by forcing her to downsize or spend more money. Lena then came over unannounced while I was at work and walked through my house with my mom, measuring the backyard and talking about where the dance floor could go. I found out because my neighbor texted me asking why people were in my yard. When I confronted her, she said she thought I just needed time to come around and that mom was sure I'd eventually say yes. That was my breaking point. I told Lena very clearly that the answer was no and that if she or anyone else came onto my property again without permission, I would change the locks and stop sharing my spare key. She started crying and said I was treating her like a criminal. My mom accused me of being dramatic and said I was tearing the family apart over a party. Since then, family gatherings have been tense. People make passive-aggressive comments about how some people think they're better than everyone else because they own a house. Lena barely speaks to me unless it's to say how stressed she is and how much easier everything would be if I just helped her. I feel bad because I know weddings are stressful and expensive, and I do have a space she needs. At the same time, I feel like my home and my boundaries are being completely disrespected. I'm not saying she can't get married or celebrate, just that I don't want my house to be the venue after what already happened. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister use my house for her wedding reception and standing my ground, even though my family thinks I'm being selfish. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned the role I was promised and told me I was being selfish. I, 24F, have one older sister, Maya, 28F. Growing up, it was always the two of us. Our parents worked a lot, and I basically followed Maya everywhere. She was the confident one, the planner, the person everyone liked. I was quieter and more emotional, but we were close. At least I thought we were. When Maya got engaged last year, she asked me to be her maid of honor. I was surprised, but really happy. She said I was the obvious choice because I knew her best and had always supported her. I cried when she asked. I helped her plan things from the start. Venues, guest lists, decorations, even addressing invitations. I took days off work, spent hours on calls, and put money into things without being asked because I wanted her wedding to be perfect. About 6 months into planning, Maya started getting closer to a coworker of hers, Jenna. I didn't think much of it at first, but slowly, Jenna was everywhere. Group chats, dress fittings, tastings. Maya started saying things like, Jenna had this great idea, or Jenna thinks this would look better. It stung a bit, but I told myself I was being sensitive. Then 2 months ago, Maya asked me to meet her for coffee. She looked nervous. She told me she had been thinking a lot and decided to make Jenna her maid of honor instead. She said Jenna was more organized and assertive, and that it would take stress off Maya. She said I could still be a bridesmaid, and that it didn't change how important I was to her. I was honestly shocked. I asked her why she didn't talk to me about any concerns before making this decision. She said she didn't want to hurt my feelings and thought I would understand. I didn't understand. I felt replaced and embarrassed. She had already told people, including our relatives, that Jenna was the maid of honor. I told Maya that this really hurt me, especially after everything I'd done. She said I was making it about myself and that weddings are stressful. She also said that family shouldn't care about titles. That comment really stuck with me. After that conversation, things got worse. I was still expected to help with planning, but now I wasn't included in decisions. I'd find out things after they were already finalized. Jenna would correct me or override my suggestions. When I pulled back a bit, Maya accused me of being passive-aggressive. The final straw came last week. Maya called me and asked if I could arrive 2 days early to help set up and also watch her fiancé's niece and nephew during the rehearsal dinner so their parents could relax. I asked who else was helping. She said Jenna would be busy with speeches and coordinating vendors, and that I was better with kids anyway. I said no. I told her that I already felt pushed aside and that being turned into free childcare while the new maid of honor got the spotlight was too much. Maya got very quiet and then said I was acting bitter and petty. She said I should be grateful to still be included and that I was punishing her for doing what was best for her wedding. I told her I needed space and that I wasn't sure I even wanted to attend the wedding anymore. She immediately told our parents. Now my mom is calling me daily, saying I'm breaking the family apart and that I'll regret missing my sister's big day. My dad says Maya handled it poorly but thinks I should be the bigger person. Maya sent me a long message saying she never meant to hurt me, but that my reaction has shown her that she made the right choice because I'm too emotional under pressure. That message destroyed me. I haven't responded. I feel torn. On one hand, I know it's her wedding and she can choose whoever she wants. On the other hand, I feel used, replaced, and dismissed, and I don't think I can sit there smiling while pretending everything is fine. I'm not trying to ruin her wedding, but I also don't want to sacrifice my self-respect just to keep the peace. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she removed me as maid of honor and continued to treat me like free help instead of family. AITA for refusing to give my sister my house after our parents told everyone it was meant for her. AITA for standing my ground, even though my entire family says I'm selfish and ruining the peace. I, 29F, bought my house 4 years ago. I worked 2 jobs for almost a decade, lived with roommates well into my late 20s, and saved aggressively. My parents did not help financially. I paid the down payment, I pay the mortgage, and my name is the only one on the deed. It's a small 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. My younger sister, Lena, 26F, has always had a different path. She struggled in school, bounced between majors, and eventually dropped out of college. She's not a bad person, but she's always been treated like the fragile one. My parents constantly said things like, Lena just needs more support, and you're strong, you'll be fine. I didn't mind at the time, but looking back, that dynamic never really changed. 2 years ago, Lena married her boyfriend, Eric. They now have a 1-year-old. They live in a small apartment that they say is too cramped, too expensive, and in a bad school district for the future. They've complained about this constantly at family gatherings. Last month, my parents invited everyone over for dinner. Halfway through the meal, my mom suddenly said, "So, we've been talking as a family about what's best for Lena and the baby." I thought this was going to be about babysitting or maybe helping them move. Then my dad said, "Your house will be perfect for them." I laughed because I thought it was a joke. It was not a joke. They explained that since I'm single, don't have kids, and don't need all that space, it would make sense for me to let Lena and her family live in my house. At first, I thought they meant temporarily, like while they save for something else. I asked how long they were thinking. My mom said, well, long term. This is about stability. That's when I realized they weren't talking about me renting it to them. They wanted me to give it to them. I said, "You mean sell it?" My dad replied, "No, honey. We mean transfer it. Families help each other." They then suggested I could move back in with my parents for a while or rent a small apartment since I don't need much. I told them absolutely not. I said I work for this house, I pay for it, and I'm not giving it away. Lena started crying immediately. My mom said I was being cold and heartless. My dad said I was choosing money over family. Apparently, this wasn't the first time they'd talked about it. They admitted they'd already told Lena that the house would eventually be hers because it just makes sense. I was furious, not only because of the request, but because they had promised something that wasn't theirs to give. I left early that night. Since then, my phone has been blowing up. My parents say I embarrassed them and broke Lena's trust. Lena has sent me messages saying I'm taking away her child's future and that I wouldn't even miss the house since you're never home anyway. Extended family members have chimed in, telling me I should be grateful I don't have kids and that it's my responsibility to help the family. One aunt said, "What's the point of owning a house if you won't use it to support your sister?" I try to compromise. I offered to help them look for a more affordable place, contribute a small monthly amount toward rent for 6 months, and babysit regularly. That wasn't good enough. My mom said, "You're missing the point. This was supposed to be simple." Now, my parents barely speak to me. They canceled a planned holiday gathering at my house and told relatives it was because I refused to help my sister. Lena unfriended me on social media and told people I'm greedy and selfish. I feel like I'm losing my family over this, and part of me wonders if I'm being too rigid. But another part of me feels like if I give in, I'll be setting a precedent that everything I earn will always be expected to go to someone else. So AITA for refusing to give my sister my house, even though my parents promised it to her without my consent? AITA for refusing to let my sister use my house as a backup wedding venue after she already planned around it without asking? AITA for this? I'm honestly torn, and the family group chat has turned into a battlefield. I'm 29F, married, no kids yet. My husband and I bought our house 2 years ago. It's not huge, but it's one of those older homes with a big backyard, mature trees, and a wraparound porch. We worked really hard for it, and because we both work from home, the house is also our office, not just a place we sleep. My sister, Emily, is 26F and getting married this fall. We've always been close-ish, but she's the kind of person who assumes things will work out in her favor. She's charming and social, and people usually go along with her plans because it's easier than saying no. About 6 months ago, Emily mentioned casually that she was looking at outdoor venues, but they were so overpriced for what you get. I agreed because weddings are expensive, and that was it. She never asked me for anything directly. Fast forward to 3 months ago. At a family dinner, Emily is excitedly talking about her wedding plans and says, "Worst case scenario, if it rains, we'll just move it to your place." I thought she was joking and laughed it off. Then everyone went quiet, and she looked confused and said, "Well, your backyard is perfect." I told her I didn't know anything about that, and she said, "I didn't want to stress you out until we got closer, but Mom said it would be fine." I asked why my house was being volunteered, and my mom said, "It's just a backup. You wouldn't even notice if it didn't rain." That already bothered me, but I said I needed to think about it, and we could talk later. After dinner, Emily sent me Pinterest boards with 10 ideas, ceremony layouts, and parking plans. Parking plans included using our neighbors' driveways and asking forgiveness later. That was the moment I realized this was not a casual backup plan. I talked to my husband, and he was firmly against it. Not because he doesn't like Emily, but because hosting a wedding, even as a backup, means moving furniture, protecting floors, dealing with noise, bathrooms, liability, and potentially strangers in our home. We also have two anxious rescue dogs who do not handle crowds well. I called Emily and told her we weren't comfortable with our house being used as a venue, even as a backup. I said I wish she had asked earlier, but the answer was no. She immediately started crying and said she already told her vendors that she had a rain plan. I asked why she would do that without confirmation, and she said she didn't think I'd say no. My mom got involved and said I was being selfish and unsupportive. She said family helps family and that I owed Emily because she let me crash on her couch for 2 weeks after a breakup years ago. She also said I was ruining Emily's peace of mind before her big day. Since then, I've been getting messages from relatives saying things like it's just one day, you don't even have kids yet, so it's not like your house is chaotic, and you'll regret not being there for her. Emily posted a vague status about how some people value property over people, which everyone knows is about me. She hasn't directly apologized or acknowledged that she never asked. I feel bad because I know weddings are stressful and expensive, and I do technically have the space. But I also feel like my home was treated as a public resource without my consent, and now I'm being punished for setting a boundary. My husband is frustrated and says if we give in, this will set a precedent forever. Part of me worries that saying no will permanently damage my relationship with my sister and my mom. So AITA for refusing to let my sister use my house as a backup wedding venue after she planned around it without asking. AITA for refusing to keep covering for my sister and telling the truth at a family dinner. AITA because my family is split and I honestly don't know if I cross a line or just finally stop being a doormat. I, 27F, have an older sister, Lena, 31F. Growing up, Lena was the golden child. She was loud, confident, and always had a story to tell. I was the quiet one who followed rules and fixed things when they went wrong. This dynamic never really changed, even after we became adults. For the past 5 years, Lena has had a pattern. She quits jobs dramatically, borrows money, and then tells our parents and extended family a much nicer version of events. Somehow, I always get pulled in to help smooth things over. If she quit a job because she didn't like her boss, she'd say she was laid off due to restructuring. If she spent rent money on trips or shopping, I was asked to help her until her next paycheck. I didn't love it, but I kept doing it because my parents would say things like, she's just going through a phase where you're so responsible. She needs your support. The biggest issue is that Lena lies very convincingly, and my parents believe her almost automatically. If I ever try to correct her, I was told I was being jealous, dramatic, or unnecessarily harsh. 6 months ago, Lena moved back into my parents' house temporarily. She told everyone she was saving for her own place and working full-time. In reality, she had quit another job after 2 months and was freelancing sporadically while spending most days out with friends. I knew this because she told me privately and asked me not to say anything because Mom and Dad wouldn't understand. Then came my cousin's engagement dinner last weekend. It was a big family event at a restaurant with grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone. During dinner, my aunt asked Lena how her career was going. Lena smiled and launched into a story about how well her job was paying and how she was thinking of moving out soon because she didn't want to mooch off Mom and Dad forever. Everyone praised her. My parents looked proud. My mom even glanced at me with that look that says, "See, she's doing fine." Something in me just snapped. I didn't interrupt her, but when my aunt turned to me and said, "You must be so proud of your sister," I said calmly, "I'll be proud when she actually has a steady job and pays her own bills." Right now, she's not working full-time and still living with Mom and Dad. The table went silent. Lena stared at me like I'd slapped her. My mom immediately jumped in and said I was mistaken. Lena tried to laugh it off and said I was confused. I said, "I'm not confused. You told me yourself you quit your job in March, and you've been freelancing a few hours a week. That's not the same thing." Lena burst into tears and ran to the bathroom. Dinner was basically ruined after that. My parents were furious with me. My dad said I embarrassed the family and that if I had concerns, I should have spoken privately. My mom accused me of resenting Lena and trying to make her look bad out of spite. After dinner, Lena sent me a long message saying I betrayed her trust, destroyed her relationship with our parents, and made her look like a failure in front of the whole family. She said I knew how hard things have been for her and that a good sister would have protected her. Here's the thing, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of being asked to lie by omission, lend money I don't get back, and pretend everything is fine so no one's feelings get hurt. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I just told the truth when directly asked. At the same time, I can see how doing it publicly was humiliating for her. Part of me wonders if I should have just stayed quiet and dealt with it later, like I always do. Another part of me feels like later never comes and nothing ever changes because everyone keeps enabling her. Now my parents are barely speaking to me, and Lena has blocked me on social media. Some relatives have messaged me privately saying they understand why I did it, but that I should apologize to keep the peace. So AITA for finally telling the truth about my sister at a family dinner instead of continuing to cover for her. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.